don't know anything about team building in Fate Grand Order, so we're gonna be watching the guide today. Yay! But thank you to Mikael Orr for requesting and funding this video on Sponsor, and for the original creator for giving me permission.
I have been seeing a lot of comments from, well, you guys,
and of course, support the original,
asking me to do these team building videos, and I'm gonna do you one better.
Thank you.
The basics of the game by showing what a quick arts and buster team look like, and then cutting between doing different runs where I can explain why we're using the skills we're using them and in what order and blah blah blah, all that good stuff. If you're a veteran,
I think I need to understand the order thing.
Helpful for you. You're welcome to stick around, but I don't think you're going to get any new information. This is all stuff that you'll probably know, but it is probably something good for some of our newer players, especially as FGO, I think, is growing every single day. I think we're getting more and more players as the things go on. So
how many players are there now?
Video, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But let's just start off with the basics. So we're going to be talking about quick first, and quick is very simple, right? Fundamentally, you would like to get your grubby little mitts on Ruler Scotty over here. She's a summer character that is extremely
a ruler
for your quick characters, predominantly because she not only gives you this massive 50% quick buff right here, but also 15% quick buff over here as well. When you have
that's a lot of buffs.
You're getting more quick than you are from just this Scotty over here. This was the old caster Scotty that was our year 3 anniversary character, who realistically didn't get any worse. It's just that the Ruler Scotty does what quick needs more. They need more of their quick performance buff because this is not only increasing their damage, but it's also increasing the NP gain of the quick card. And as you would assume,
okay, so the NP gain,
they're going to be predominantly using their quick NPs and their quick face cards to deal damage and refund their NP. She also does
that makes sense.
This Scotty has the 50% battery. Well, this one,
I always love those.
Right on their third skill as well. Another slight power creep thing that makes this Scotty a little better is the fact that you have an attack buff which you can bring to all 3 nodes, whereas the caster Scotty, you saw that she had a defense down, which can only be used on one of the waves. So that caster Scotty does have
only on one of the waves,
down, but it's not like it's buffing your damage for all of the waves. So this gives you generally better consistent damage. So you're not only
I can see why that would be better,
doing more damage overall. And then from here, it kind of just depends on what you're going to go into. I'm just going to show off going into a looping stage, right? We're just going to go into a free quest and kind of go about things as per usual. I'll pick probably like just a decent quick AoE character. Probably going to go with Summer Okita Alter, if I'm being honest. This is just a really good character to show off quick looping that doesn't really have too many special bells and whistles.
I didn't realize that you can actually choose based on like what kind of NP they have. Wait, now I kind of need to look at that a little bit closer. Go back a bit more. Okay, so there's all enemies NP effect, one enemy support NP. A lot of you guys know that I don't really open the game outside of streams because I don't really have time. So it's actually quite helpful to see things this way and kind of see what is actually there. I think the only thing I knew about were the class group and then definitely the regular classes, because, you know, that's what you see from the very beginning. But I don't think it really like clicked in my head that there were MPE like filter specific ones. But that's actually really nice, especially considering there's like so many characters in this game.
Quick looping that doesn't really have too many special bells and whistles. But as far as quick looping is concerned, the ideal thing that you would love to be doing is doing Black Grail looping. And I do know
Black Grail looping?
Okita Alter over here is good enough to do that. This is obviously
what's a Black Grail looping?
Most of your scenarios, whether it's using a single target or an AoE character, this is just going to be giving you so much extra damage. Normally it's 60%. But
oh, okay.
The luckiest
this
time. So I got
craft essence is called that.
80% extra damage. Even more so of a reason to go ahead and use Black Grail to take advantage of that massive damage boost that you're getting. But aside from that, there's not a whole lot that you need to add in here. I mean, if you're going into free quests, I mean, obviously in an event, you're going to load these Scotties up with different event bonus drops CEs.
Sheesh, there's so many.
Drop whatever is relevant to you. So for us, we're going to go into a free quest, so might as well get some additional bond while we're here and, you know, try to push the needle forward a little bit on some of these characters. Maybe we'll throw Salter in there. I'm trying to get her ready for
so many, holy!
Coming up can't really fit in a last person, but I guess we could just take anybody that we want to get some decent bond on that'll fit in here. I don't know. We got, what is that? 8 points? No, 6 points. I can't. I don't know. Can we fit Lubu in here? No, we can't. Man. Let's put Sanson in there. Let's get Sanson in there. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and jump into a no, dude. I can't speak today. We're gonna go jump in, and I'll kind of just break down what we're doing for our quick.
Okay, so he's just gonna use 2 characters.
I actually do.
Oh wait, no, he is gonna. Oh yeah, you do have to choose support.
Craft essences for the different drop bonus ones. These are obviously a good thing that you can decide to bring if you're trying to min-max on some of your drops, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little lazy. We already kind of formatted everything, but yep, you're just gonna bring a second ruler, Scotty, because even if you're not doing looping, you know, you're not.
So I guess for most of these, it's recommended that you just choose the friend support that already like maxed out everything.
Trying to do free quest looping
instead of it being more about like how you can
as well.
I think my problem though with a lot of like these kinds of things, and that's not to say that the creator did a bad job, but for me personally as someone who's new, I do prefer it when it's more like it's not really about specific characters, but more along the lines of like, this is the ideal kind of setup that you'd want to do like in a more general sense. Because the problem is I don't have like 90% of the servants that you guys have, but also you know, I don't have the ones that the creator has. So I'm kind of hoping that he'll cover things in a more general sense later. Because right now it feels like I need to have this character in order for the quick team to work out ideally. And, you know, obviously maximize all the skills and whatnot. It makes me slightly concerned that I have to do it this way instead of doing what I want when I'm playing the game, which, not gonna lie, it's kind of makes me uncertain on whether I will continue to play Fate Grand Order once I reach a point, because as you guys know, I don't play games as a hobby. Like, it's not my hobby. It's not my main hobby. My main hobby is like watching stuff and reading stuff. Because if it was gaming, then I would probably be burnt out and never be able to do this channel ever. Personally speaking, I would not be able to do that. But I do want to learn, but I just want to pick up the things that I feel like are the most useful for me. So if anything, I'm just going to probably skip through some of the stuff that he talks about and try to like pick up the things that are probably going to be the most useful for me to remember, because as you guys know that I don't have a good memory already. So even if I watch this, I don't think I'm going to remember everything. Like, I'm already having a hard time with names, so you can't expect me to remember this, right? But if you guys have any like general advice that I should recall, like, you know, the QAB, QBA, that kind of stuff, or BQA, or, you know, but for team building, then let me know, because I think that will make it easier for me to remember. Of course, I am going to be watching this carefully, making sure I understand everything and kind of get like a general gist of what he's talking about. But I just want to be upfront about that, because I know some of you guys are really obsessed with meta and like doing things in a specific way, but that's not me.
Having that extra quick bonus for extra damage, as well as also being able to refund things a bit easier.
And you know I don't like using support that much.
Like, there could be an
unless I really need it.
Original Scotty, because of the big defense down, I could maybe see that as being defensible, especially if they have a triple quick deck, because the one main difference that you want to consider between these two is that the Caster Scotty gives you 100% quick crit damage, whereas the Ruler Scotty gives you 100% Buster crit damage. Where that's kind of ideal is on characters that are built like this Summer Okita Altar, that have
quick cards and Buster. Okay.
Functionally give them 100% crit damage on 4 of their 5 cards. So even though some people would say, oh, why does she give Buster crit damage? When you think about it, between the two of them, you would have 100% crit on 4 of your 5 cards, and it really does work out. It's pretty strong. But let's just go ahead and jump into this. Quick is actually relatively simple. I'm sure a lot of people have heard that Quick is not the best. You know, it's like, oh, Quick always gets memed on in the game. And it
does.
Teams are bad. It's just...
I'm just not really aware of these things.
they just don't loop as well as arts, and they don't have the same highs that, say, your Buster teams would have, right? So for our Okita alter,
I think I do get what it means by, the quick teams not being as, I guess, flashy, if we want to put it that way. It's not really flashy, but like, it's not that much where you would experience the highs, as he said. When I think like Kintoki might be a good example. He's quick, right? I think his was a quick NP. So I guess for him, Kintoki and then having Skahag would be like super ideal to use. I just don't really like the whole like use specific characters thing. I'm more of the type that's like wife and husbando over meta type person. And I know a lot of you guys are too, thankfully. But yeah, so I get what he means. That definitely makes sense. That quick teams would be memed on, as he said, or I guess the community says. It's not exactly like, it doesn't feel as good when you're using like a quick focus.
here she's relatively simple. We're just gonna go ahead.
Which is why I always use arts for the most part.
I don't believe we actually need to use the second, because that gives us our NP gain and our quick buff. Yeah, this is just an extra battery, which we may end up needing because the first wave is against 2 enemies. If you are, again, this is supposed to be a primer for more newer players, the more enemies there are, the better your arts and quick characters will refund, because they refund based on their hits. So
they do? Okay.
Has 5 hits on their NP. Generally, they will refund their NP better than a character that has 4 hits. Obviously, there's a little bit of nuance from their skills. How big is their hard buff? Do they have NP gain buffs? Is their natural NP gain really high? But a general rule of thumb is if they have really high hits, they're going to be better at refunding their NP. It's just kind of generally a good thing to think. But something that we can do is that since we have gone ahead and used
3,
Scotty skills,
wow,
this one, and it puts you in a pretty decent position. You have a 30% battery at least on Okita Summer over here, and we have this backup 50% battery as well if we're unable to loop one of these nodes. Realistically, when you're doing free quest farming like this or event farming, unless it's a 90++ and you know you're going to need the crits, the face cards don't really matter too much. It might matter a little bit.
The face cards don't really matter. Okay.
Quick and Buster, you should be finishing off the enemies with your NP, and yeah, look at that. We're still able to get some pretty good looping in. I mean, I know we're fighting against casters, and casters do give you the most refund back. But
they do? Well, learn something new.
The fact that they
super important.
Scotty
Caster
does mean they're getting
gives more.
Ridiculous NP gain boost to that quick card, especially with both of the ruler Scotties giving you that additional quick buff on the second skill as well. It really does make a huge difference. So yep, we're going in. We're just gonna go ahead and kind of finish this up real quick and easy. Like, I'm trying to think of other things to kind of go over here as we're finishing up this, but it is rather simple, really. And I mean, you could see if we were using a character that maybe didn't have their own battery, we would have popped the Scotty's third skill on that second wave, and we still would have been fine.
Then what would you do if, and I'm not just talking to the creator, but also to you guys, like, what would you do if you only had like the non 5-star characters? Like, what if you only had 1 to like 4-star characters? Then in that case, what would you like, what kind of team would you create that would create the ideal quick team in that case? Because here it's assuming that we would have enough of Skahag in order to use all of her skills. But in a lot of cases, especially for new players, they're not gonna have those characters unless they're like wailing in every banner, which honestly is probably not a good idea to do anyways. So I would love to know what you guys would recommend if you only had like 1 to 4-star characters that are like possible to get in the friendship banner, and maybe if you're lucky, maybe get a good character once on a banner, like limited time banner. But either way, I did learn a few things, which is great. So I'm looking forward to seeing what exactly else I'm going to be learning here.
Real quick that you're getting from the double Scotty, or technically the triple Scotty setup, is absolutely insane. And then obviously, because we're using plugs, so we can just go ahead and pop this. We pop the defense.
I assume this video is more about like what the ideal teams are, rather than like for specific NP types, rather than like how you should build your team. Because I thought it would be more about like how you be building your team, like what exactly to focus on, so that you know how to build it. Or maybe that's later in the video, but either way, right now it's kind of like this is the ideal team rather than like this is how you build the team that with the characters that you do have.
Down, so we got all the damage in the world, and we'll just get in there, finish these guys off. And I guess this does also show off for newer players. The game tells you that you should, you know, be using riders to fight casters, or assassins to fight riders, and sabers to fight lancers, but
yes, it does.
Characters are so good nowadays that you can go in type neutral, and maybe it's not so much the characters, but also the supports are so strong, you can just go in type neutral and absolutely body some of these people, especially
that's true.
if you are rocking somebody that is able to use Black Grail. That's 60 to 80% NP.
That reminds me, like, what if you don't have that craft essence? Then what exactly are you supposed to use? Like, unless that's in the store, is it? Because I don't remember seeing that in the store. But then again, I haven't been really able to explore the store as much as I wanted to. Do you have a recommendation on an alternative Black Grail craft essence that you could potentially use? Because I don't know if that's really like ideal to like, I guess, say like you have to only use this one. So I would like to know what the alternative is that you guys would use if you were limited with the servants that you have and the craft essences you can use.
Damage is an absolute godsend. Now, a final thing that I want to mention for this quick team over here is kind of the same thing that every team can benefit from, and that is using Oberon. Oberon is a very powerful, I would say, general support you could think of them as. You may see that they give a buster. Ooh, nice, we got a feather drop. You might see that they have the buster buff on
buster buff.
Think, oh, this is exclusively a buster support, which we'll talk about more as we get to our buster section, but that is always somebody that instead of, say, bringing this caster Scotty over here, maybe your quick looper is good enough on their own and they don't really need that extra 50% battery, and they'll be fine just getting the additional battery normally from Oberon, right? They don't need
Oberon
to get
who is Oberon,
and they can do it with the raw battery that he's giving. He'll provide them a lot of extra damage, so that is always something you can consider in these team comps. If the additional, you know, kind of go-to for the triple Scotty system isn't working for you, you can always go ahead and whip out Oberon. Oberon is just generally really good to have in a lot of these teams. But next we can go look at our arts. And
wait, so Oberon, I assume, is available for pretty maybe like through the friendship gotcha thing? I assume. That's my assumption, because it's kind of hard to tell who Oberon is when I don't really get to see it unless I like pull out my phone and look it up, which I guess I can do. Let me actually do that real quick because it's kind of bothering me. And while I'm doing that, special thank you to Mikael Orr for requesting and funding this video on sponsor again. And of course, be sure to support the original creator by liking and subscribing to them. And this one, okay, so Oberon is Oberon, FGO. Okay, so it seems like Oberon is the first pretender class in Fate Grand Order, and they are a 5-star. Okay, so they're also a 5-star. Is there any that's like not 5-star? Because I guess Anderson, maybe? I don't even know. Because it feels like all the suggestions so far have been like 5-star, go for this one. And also the craft essences are, you know, super, I guess, pretty high up there too. And I know like for the most part, this person is clearly like super like experienced like you guys. But it's difficult for me to understand like what I can use as an actual new player, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I am grateful for all the information I am getting because I learned quite a lot just now, especially for the quick teams, because I really wasn't sure what exactly a quick team needed. So that was super helpful to learn. But in regards to like suggestions on what to use, right now it's really difficult for me to actually, you know, I guess, figure out how to build a team because it's all 5-star suggestions. And I assume for maybe they're thinking like the new players that played it every day for like 5 months, I guess. But I don't know if that would be like ideal for someone who is not able to do that, then and they don't like pool for every banner. It's kind of frustrating for me personally, even though like the video itself is really good and there's like a whole lot of gold information in there, but it's not really ideal for me and what I need to learn for team building. Like I actually really need like super like low level characters. Like give me some more information about that. That would be like heaven right there. But like I said, I do appreciate it, and I do think that this would probably be more helpful to those that have a lot of servants already but just don't know how to effectively use them. I just don't think I'm at that position right now, which is why it's difficult for me to follow along as much, even though I do know what he's talking about to some degree, if that makes sense.
Arts you could see is kind of jam-packed. Now everything revolves functionally around this character over here. Castoria, you just heard me talk about in yesterday's video, is absolutely ridiculous. It may not seem like a lot, but this is just such, it's almost like the second coming of Waver in a way, that the skills are so basic, but it's just something that every team would want, especially your arts characters. This is a 30% battery to everybody while also giving them a nice solid attack buff. This is a targeted 20% battery that buffs the NP gain of everyone.
Basically, so far, what I'm getting is that battery is the most important. And if you can get a lot of support characters that can, you know, increase your battery in some way, then that's ideal. And of course, if it has like increase, let's say arts or quick card effectiveness, then that's the ideal type of support is what I'm getting. Is that right?
In the party. And then this is a massive single target arts buff that also gives you a little threat against humanity power mod and an invincibility. Invincibility is only going to come up if you're doing boss fights, as will probably the threat against humanity. This isn't the most common power mod, but it is nice when it procs up. And then obviously, because she is arts, and I'll kind of demonstrate this as we go through, even in looping, you can trigger Castoria's NP, and the main reason you would want to do that is not for all of these effects. These are, again, really strong for various boss fights or challenge quests, things along those lines, but really what you're trying to do is trigger this attack buff that I believe
okay.
at NP1 and goes up to 50% at NP5. It's pretty ridiculous, right? Just getting a free attack buff as well as the ability to overcharge your NP by putting this first in chain can also trigger things like a stacking buff that a character might have on their overcharge, like Muramasa getting I believe it's the arts and NP damage are on his overcharge. You can give him an extra little bit of stacking that might increase his damage even more so and also help him loop a bit easier. Or if they have a power mod, you can kick that up from its usual 150 to maybe like 170%. So again, everything revolves around this character, but arts is...
I really appreciate the way that he explains what each skill does. Because sometimes when I read these things, I do understand it, but like not to like a super detailed degree. So him taking the time to explain each one is very much appreciated. Especially when he explains the things like this part, where is it? Not that one. It was like a little bit up. Oh, right, the threat to humanity. He explained that it was like a power mod, which I did not know. I feel like there was like several characters that have like this kind of thing, but they don't really explain what exactly that means. It just has the name. So it's nice to know that those are like just power mods and just things like that, because it's difficult to figure out at times, especially when they don't have like a definition type of thing or encyclopedia or no reference book thing.
Castoria's NP. And the main reason
we're right here.
Boss fights or challenge quests, things along those lines. But really what you're trying to do is trigger this attack buff that I believe starts at 30% at NP1 and goes up to 50% at NP5.
Wow.
It's pretty ridiculous, right? Just getting a free attack buff as well
as expected.
Overcharge your NP by putting this first
of Adatoria.
Also trigger things like a stacking buff that a character might have on their overcharge, like Muramasa getting I believe it's the arts and NP damage are on his overcharge. You can give him an extra little bit of stacking that might increase his damage even more so and also help him loop a bit easier. Or if they have a power mod, you can kick that up from its usual 150 to maybe like 170%.
Can someone explain like what exactly a power mod is? Because that's I do get like it's something, since he is taking the time to explain it, but I think I'm having a hard time like understanding like how you know when it's used and what exactly it's even useful for, or if you need to actually care about it, at least at this point in my journey, or if it's something that I could just think about and learn about later. Please let me know down below in the comments.
So again, everything revolves around this character, but Arts is kind of unique in that even if you don't have your own Castoria, having somebody like, say, a Nero Bride and a Asclepius, or a combination of, say...
Thank you! Finally! A non-5-star character! This is really helpful. Okay, so I do have him, thankfully. So I know that I just need to build him, and he would be a good enough support character for me to use. And of course, if I combine it with the support character, like for example Castoria, then or Nero Bride, then that would be good enough. And I guess Tamamoa would also be another one, assuming. But thank you, finally, because the quick one, I was really worried that we would never get any like alternative. So I was really concerned about that, but I'm really glad that here we actually get to see it for the Arts one, especially since you know that I tend to use Arts a lot, so this is the most useful piece of information ever.
A Waver plus an Asclepius and a friend Castoria can still get the job done, which you'll see me demonstrate.
Oh, I still need a Waver? Okay.
Videos if I'm really trying to showcase how good a particular character is. Oh, they don't even need their own Castoria. You could just bring a friend. But for the purposes of this video, and especially with Castoria coming out at the end of this month, I guess going into March, I think it's important to show off these teams. I have Tamamo here as well. I think if you're in a real pinch, she could be a decent plug suit option. Say you don't have, you know, your own Nero Bride, you don't have Asclepius because he's story locked, and you just don't want to use Celsus for whatever reason.
Wait, I thought I had him.
Plug suit option.
I don't have him?
Though, in your
I'm screwed.
Setup, you're just going to default to you doing the normal Oberon as the additional plug suit. You're just going to bring this guy for the extra damage. But
what if you don't have him?
Characters, right? Like, we'll go ahead and just bring, you know, Tamamo, because most of these characters are so good, they don't really need the added extra support. So we'll just bring Tamamo, keep it nice, pure, and Arts.
Who would you recommend for 4-star or lower?
More so than Quick, I will say. Arts was really the first card when Castoria came out to abuse Black Grail. This is about a year before Buster came out with Oberon, and then they really cranked it up to the max. But because double Castoria can offer you 100% gauge, and the Arts characters aren't as in danger of failing their looping, it was something that was really easy to abuse Black Grail with. So if you do have Black Grail and you don't have Castoria, I would be keeping my eyes peeled for the end of March when we get the spring new master.
Then what if you don't have either?
Good.
What would you do then? Cause
you can bring someone like Oberon into the mix, but
I don't have any of them.
You know, take a little break here.
Literally.
And just like that, with movie magic, we're able to have our full team and we're ready to go into this next stage.
I don't have a single one of those.
I really do want to show off for this is that Castoria benefits from you being able to spam.
I also don't have any of the craft essences I see here.
To get that additional damage if you are lacking it. I guess as well, I should mention why we're always...
Wait, what am I lacking? Okay, let's see.
You are lacking. Spam their NP in these art setups to get that additional damage if you are lacking it. I guess
okay.
As well, I should mention why we're always going for what is colloquially called plug suit, right, in the community, why we're using the order change. Just because being able to swap out for an additional support for either lacking, you know, NP gauge if you're running low on that, if you're running low on damage.
Yeah, I remember seeing a different video that used it like that, which is why and how I actually learned how to use order change.
Other Mystic codes that are strong. Like, I remember when this summer one came out, I was actually quite a big fan of it. Right, and like, you know, used it to some nice success in some of the Arts teams because getting the Arts buff and the NP damage buff here,
yeah, that's nice.
10% battery was generally enough, but you're just really not gonna hit the same highs that you're gonna hit by using the order change buff. And then this one, if you're wondering, it's just generally better because not only does it give you the attack, but it also gives you
for all allies.
damage.
That's useful.
We'll refer to it as, and that pairs in very, very nicely.
Oh, there's so many
a lot of
Mr. Codes.
people do just because of how good Oberon is. But we'll just kind of jump in here. Also get to show off the Summer Masashi, how good she is. You know, people will always just say Summer Masashi not very good, and I have to say those people smoking crack, right? They are absolutely out.
Smoking crap.
Does it kind of hurt that she doesn't have a battery? Not really, because when you're rocking so much,
Okay, so that's Musashi. Okay,
you can kind of just loop through anything.
and then Aratoria, 2 Aratorias.
But something you'll see here, this is also where multi-core stuff comes in, because you can see that between these
Multi-core?
categories, we're giving 60% battery to the whole party. So if instead
Ah.
of Mamo here, we had our Castoria placed in this slot, we could have a single target here, and Masashi as our AoE, if say we're doing an event node that has a really large enemy in one of the nodes, and you know our AoE can't chunk them, we can already give them 60% between the two Castorias, and then we also have these targetable NP gains. You can see that my Masashi doesn't actually need the second NP gain, so I could just toss this on, say, our single target if they were here, or this other
Dang, to 100%.
Castoria's NP on turn 1, and we're going to be able to fire this one's on turn 2 for a total of what? That's 30% from mine, because mine is NP3. And what is theirs? NP1, that's I think like what, 25%? So it's a lot of extra damage we're getting just for kind of existing, because the arts card is very, very strong. I was going to say we could
Arts team the best.
this Castoria for Tamamo for additional damage, but I do want to show off doing both of the Castoria's NPs just for people that aren't as familiar. I guess the only detriment to doing this is it does increase the length of your farming time. It does mean that going in and doing clears will take, I don't know, like an extra 30-40 seconds, but if it's the difference between you being able to clear the node effectively or not being able to clear it at all, I would say
First one would be better.
the animation for a couple of seconds and take the extra damage, right? So we'll just see Masashi go in there, obliterate these people. Look, and we're not even trying to glaze her too much. Look at that, 1.62. We're just out there dunking people. Didn't even bring her to
She killed them all.
I didn't want to look like I was glazing her too hard. But yeah, see, now that we fired that, we can go ahead and plug suit out our Tamamo. This could also, again, be an Oberon if you want to really make use of that Black Grail. But we can use her because not only is she going to give us the big arts buff, but that additional delicious NP damage buff to make our Masashi hit even harder. And so we could just go ahead and pop that again.
Ooh.
CQ, or we had, I don't know, some other third.
All arts.
To fire their NP, just continuing to chain these arts cards. Enables us to make that a real thing, that we can chain different NPs together even when our skills have run out, because the arts card is just that strong. And now Masashi's going to go in there and absolutely slam dunk these people. Now again, if you're doing more of an odd node, where say there's, you know, 3 people at the beginning, but then there's only 2 enemies on this node, remember how more enemies make it easier for you to loop. Look at that, 2.
Okay, so more enemies is easier to loop.
But having a character that has a battery would be really helpful, because you can see with the arts we're getting way more refund before, like, with our character.
So I guess it's ideal for your arts character, that's the DPS, to be AoE and then have to support that charges battery, and maybe, you know, I assume charging the NP is first priority, and then second priority is the arts enhancement. Is that correct? And then for the AoE DPS, you would want to ideally have one that can actually increase NP, but it's okay if they can't. Probably. I'm literally guessing at this point based on context clues and what he's been saying.
Like 100%, like pretty cleanly, but we're clearing 158%. Like, we are just mowing them down with this one. Granted, Masashi does have a very strong NP gain buff right here, but at the same time, she doesn't have her own arts card buff, right? So, like, it's kind of like a double whammy type thing where, yeah, sure, she really is known for her NP gain, but she's not doing the NP gain and card buff combo that, say, Okita alters. Not that I'm trying to compare the two right there, but just showing off.
Okita alter, huh? Okay.
Get a little bit more colorful and fancy with, because they just naturally refund more of their NP. I mean, it's like why you can get away with some characters just going up against like a random node that might only have 2 enemies, and you could still refund a metric butt ton of your NP back. But Yeah, quick and arts are both very simple.
So either way, looping is the most important thing.
You want to plan out and saying, oh, I want to fire my Castoria NP so I can do some bonus damage. Buster is where things, ironically enough, start to get a bit more technical.
What? Oh, I should pay attention even more.
This character, if you want to do Buster looping, Buster farming, Buster battery farming, if you want to get really technical with it, you know, whatever you want to do.
So basically, if we don't have this character, it's not really gonna happen then. The Buster looping. I guess the entire meta is more along the lines of looping is key, and if you can't do that, then you're gonna struggle. Is that right? That seems to be the consensus that or general understanding of what they seem to be saying, or at least what the content creator is saying in the video. That kind of makes me disappointed slightly, because I know a lot of you guys said that you don't need the meta to get through the content. Or maybe he's more talking about along the lines of endgame, if there is one. But for me, I only care about getting through the story, so if that's not the case, that I can't get through everything with just like the lower star characters, then I kind of have like mixed feelings about it if that's the case. Yeah, a little disappointed maybe if that really is true, that, you know, meta is what you have to go for to clear all the content, story content, including Lost Belt. Well, I guess we'll see. Let's continue.
If you want to call it, you need to have this character. And sure, they do give you like a really strong Buster buff and a nice little power mod over here, but it all is just because of this skill right here. It's a 50% battery that lowers your skill cooldown by 2, which literally does have your Buster characters just doing battery farming, right? Battery being any.
Okay, so you really do need.
And so long
Koyanskaya.
30% battery, you are allowed into the club of Buster farming. Now the thing is, at least right now on NA, we don't have the new plug suit. So once
so there is a plug suit that can help?
The order change mystic code. We got a new mystic code that has the order change that also gives you a battery. And
okay.
Player friendly as possible. That made it to where any character that has a 50% charge can use Black Grail. Huge for the Buster farming.
Wait, they can use Black Grail even if you don't have it?
This is not me glazing Morgan, but Morgan does actually have more of a leg to stand on when compared with Arjuna Alter. Arjuna Alter's natural damage is so high, but it's a huge buff for her because now she can use Black Grail. Someone like Lancer Artoria, if you thought her damage was a little too low, well, now she can compete a bit better, even though her latest buff was ridiculous, but she could compete even better because she could use Black Grail. Someone like Drake can compete with Iskandar, whose damage is way higher than hers, because now she can utilize Black Grail and he can't. So it does.
Wait, so I assume for that one you actually do need the craft essence. You can't just.
There are very few characters
use one that
are Black Grail
can
compliant.
turn into Black Grail.
People like Lancer Melusine, it's archetype Earth, and I'm trying to. Saber Alter can do it. Normal OG Saber can do it. Like, it's very few and far between. Like, very specific Buster AoE characters can do that. Specifically, even though someone like Saber Alter, or not, normal Saber, my bad, I was looking at Saber Alter, even though she only has a 30% charge here, she refunds 20% of her NP on
That's nice.
Noble Phantasm, and that allows her to kind of get across the finish line with that. Same
Do I want her though?
Alter,
Probably not.
Still, she functionally just turns into a quick and arts character, refunding her own NP gauge off of her first skill, depending on how many enemies she's fighting. So it can get a little ridiculous, but I think we're just going to keep it rather simple. Let's just break out a standard character. And I know I'm going to say standard, and I'm going to whip out my boy Gilgamesh, right? We're going to break out some.
That's not standard.
Because I want to show how it normally works, how Buster teams are supposed to work.
I guess it's standard for experienced players.
Part of this, because for Gilgamesh, he only has a 30% battery, and Buster is very math oriented, right? You need to hit exact levels of charges because they don't.
Oh, you do?
There is no leeway for error. If you either have enough to charge your NP to full, or you do not, right? There's no if, ands, or buts. There's you do or you do not.
Okay.
So for these people with the 30% gauges like he does on his third skill, you're gonna need to invest in their append 2 over here to start them off with 20%.
What exactly is... Oh wait, okay, so append skill is skills automatically go into effect in battle. So these are like the things that happen the moment you start battle. You don't just like manually activate it. Is that what they are?
Functionally letting them start the battle with 100% of their NP. That does mean for optimal buster comps though, they did give us quite a good free-to-play CE in first day of filming, or cranking as it's called over on JP, which is very strong. Some would even say one of the more optimal CEs.
So how do you get that one?
Not just because it gives you this 8% buster buff.
I know this video is probably a while ago, but
NP damage, and
is it even possible to get right now?
In these buster
I don't think I have that one.
Third skill being able to overclock your NP.
Oh my gosh, Oberon, you're like needed in every team basically is what I'm hearing.
At the very least, give yourself as much NP damage as possible. If
Okay,
there is some
as much NP damage as possible.
that gives you like 20% NP damage, but you start off with 50% gauge. That could also be really good if you don't have this one. This is just the perfect story.
Please let me know which ones those are.
Starting battery that you need, a good NP strength buff, and it's a max attack CE. So if you max it out, you're getting full value on your damage. So again, like per usual, we're just gonna cut away real quick, and then the whole team will be built, and I'll just kind of show off how all the numbers for this work. And
sounds good.
Magic, we're back and ready to go. Now, one thing to note that I failed to mention in...
I think he's the only one that I might have, but I don't have the rest. I don't have any of them except Mash. I just realized that's the same Mash. I thought it was like some kind of like Mash altar or something. But it's probably just an outfit, right? And it's the actual Mash.
The primer part there where I was explaining how these buster teams are kind of formed and what they do is that there are some specific characters, very rare ones, that do not want 2 Koyanskayas. They actually want 2 Oberons instead. Although
2 Oberons?
Right now on NA, and the comments can correct me if there are any veteran people watching, the only person that wants that, I believe, is Archetype Earth as of right now.
Okay, well I don't have Archetype Earth, so it's okay.
The only person that wants double Oberon 1 Koyanskaya instead of double Koyanskaya 1 Oberon, and that is because Archetype Earth's battery is so large that you're not going to naturally refund it anyway, so you might as well maximize on the damage from Oberon, and that's kind of how that works. But let's go in here and let's just show off kind of how the numbers work, because, you know, I'm sure there are some people that have Koyanskaya and they're wondering, but how do the numbers work, man? How am I supposed to do all my farming? I don't know how to do all the math. Don't worry.
I don't really do much of the farming. I mean, I do, but like
starting off with
rarely, because I just don't have time.
We already
but I try.
Percent of our NP. Gilgamesh himself can charge that last 30% because he's got a 30%.
Well, that's useful. The append. I should really try to unlock that.
Who has a 50% gauge, you don't really need to do their append skill. This is really only something you have to do if you have somebody that only has a 30% battery, right? Just we can go ahead and pop our offensive buffs. If this second skill was anything that would give us more damage, we would also go ahead and proc this, but it doesn't offer us anything. It's just an...
It's just a battery?
As of recording this right now, because the whole thing with Koyanskaya is not only is she going to enable us to do buster looping, again, whatever you want to call it. Some people say it's farming, some say it's battery farming. I don't really care. We're smacking people with our big buster crits and our big buster sticks and everything.
I don't know the difference, so I'm with you on that.
Whatever you want to call it, the other selling point is that if you have very strong offensive buffs, she will not only let you re-loop your battery over here, but she'll also let you use your offensive buffs a second time. So that is also why these buster characters get to do
extra
levels of damage, as we're gonna see with Gilgamesh over here. And again, showing off going in type neutral. I mean, sure, these are some riders and they're not super strong, but you know, FGO would tell
Ah, his is so nostalgic.
bring, you know, our assassins or whatever. But no, we just eviscerate these people. They're nothing in the face of the King of Heroes. But now this is where stuff starts to get a little bit interesting. You could see that we've got these down to 4 turns a pop. Now,
We have 0%.
because these are both 50%, you know, gauges. They're going to get us to 100%. But just like that, we can already go ahead and pop our first skill again. So we're already double buffing ourselves with that first skill. Again, you have stronger buffs like a mana burst, or you have a multi-layered buff that gives you NP damage and it's like a buster buff, or it's like a triple buff, right? It's like a 10% attack buff, NP damage buff, and a card buff. Things can get really nasty. Now, one thing you can also do here, if you are using somebody with a 50% gauge, think your Morgans with her total 50% battery, or your Lancer Artorias that have a 50% battery, those characters can plug suit in Oberon now to get some added extra damage in this second node, because they don't need the 20% battery here and the 50% battery here to fully charge their NP for the third node. Unfortunately, Gilgamesh has a lowly 30% battery, so we can't make use of this skill quite yet, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to only make use of our, you know, first
The
skill,
first,
double buff.
okay.
Will it be enough to take out this 76k East?
Yes, I believe in
I
you.
don't know, Frosty Lion thing? It's literally just a Nago model from Babylonia. I'm pretty sure I even mispronounced that one. But look, will it be enough? Absolutely. You can see we hit them both for 112k. We're doing more than
They dead.
guys, even without our power mod buff, even without any of that. The Gilgamesh does not concern himself with such things. But again, you can see this is why we had to save it, because we can get 30% from Gilgamesh over here, and then we'll get a combined 70% from both the first skill on Oberon and the third skill. And like I mentioned earlier, Oberon is good in pretty much all of these different setups, whether it's Quicks, Arts, Buster, whether you have your own NP damage buff or not. The fact that he gives you one means he's already...
Now there's a Shadow Servant.
And because both Arts and Quick have the capability to make use of Black Grail, Black Grail does get overcharged.
Oh, Black Grail. If there really is no alternative for Black Grail, then I'm a little worried that it's gonna cause issues later. Because it feels like that's like a necessity at this point. That one and Oberon are like a necessity for every team at this point. That's like the main thing I'm learning here right now. I know I'm learning other stuff too, and I am picking that up. I just worry that I'm not gonna remember it. But aside from that, like, basically those two are the necessities out of everything. It's just every single time he always mentions Black Grail and then Oberon's, and I don't have them, and I'm like, I guess there really is no alternative. Maybe one that's not as good as Black Grail, but still does have the same functionality, perhaps? Question mark.
This effect on Oberon over here, so it's already very, very strong. But also for Buster, the added bonus is they get to make use of that Buster buff. Arts and Quick, for most part, are not going to be making use of that additional Buster buff. So
That's true.
crank everything up to 1,000,000% and just let Gilgamesh obliterate these people,
Destroy!
rip and tear through them. The only bad thing about Buster looping, I will say, or really using Oberon in general, is that
Oh, it's Oberon that's
like, say it's your
problematic.
testing out the node and you don't know if you can clear it or not. Using Oberon's third skill does put you to sleep. You go night-night. And by the way, that was a million
What?
on that Sigurd. For NP1 and Gilgamesh, oh boy, bro, look at him go. You could really start hitting some high numbers with these Buster teams. But if you do fail the farm, you will go night-night, and it will go from a 3-turn clear to now being like a 9-turn clear. But these are basically
Then is it worth having Oberon at that point?
core of team building. If you have a character that you want to acquire, say, I don't know, you really want Bradamante, right? Well, you just look at what their NP card type is, and then you'd say, oh, well, I really want to use Bradamante, so I should really be on the lookout for Ruler Scotty. But ZTL also told me that OG Scotty is also really good in these team comps as well, so I should also be keeping my eyes peeled for them, because Also, remember that a lot of quick characters, because their looping ability isn't as good, some of them really do need the triple Scotty setup. They do want both of them to buff up
Okay.
NP.
So basically, for quick teams, you really do need Scotty, or else it's not even worth it. Is the general, I guess, overview that I'm gonna hear. I know that I'm pretty sure maybe there are characters now that can probably replace a few of them, or maybe not. But overall, it feels like none of the lower star ones are worth it or even can do a similar type of functionality. And what I mean by that is not really like 50% NP or whatever it is. More so, they don't have the same functionality as the Skyhawk's skills, which is what I was asking. Like, is there an alternative? Maybe it can't like get you to NP 100% in one turn, but is there something that can actually do something similar? Maybe in with after a few turns instead. Because I do not, and I am going to make this clear to you guys, I am not going to pull for characters just because they're useful. I have to actually like the character design. And I have to actually like the character, or else I have no interest.
To an acceptable level where they're able to
I don't like
some of these other characters.
Doing the gacha that much.
Took out this additional Scotty and just did double.
Even if you guys really like it.
On it, she would still do fine. Summer Okita Alter would, but
unless like they're useful for the singularity I'm doing,
use Black Grail for
then I would consider it.
Not really a problem for arts.
Also, how do you get Black Grail? I really need to know.
Because of their arts card having a higher NP gain rate compared to the quick card and Castoria, again, giving you everything you would want.
I feel like in a sense the arts team is a little bit more flexible compared to the quick and Buster team. Because the Buster team, as he said, at least according to what he said, is more mathematical and has to be more precise. While the quick team, it's more like there's not that many that can actually give you the skills that you need unless you have the 5-star characters, which again, I wish we had some alternatives either on like a lower scale so that we know exactly what we need. But let's keep going.
Gauge between our first and second skill, 100% between 2 Castorias, the fat arts buff, the additional NP gain buff that they really don't need because, again, they have an arts card. They're already looping so well, so it just kind of kicks them into overdrive. So you can kind of get a little fruity with whoever you want to be plug suiting in, whether that be a Tamamo just for some basic buffs. Maybe that's all you have. Maybe you want to do Oberon because you do have Black Grail and that is the optimal thing to be doing to overclock their NP damage. Or if you don't have Oberon, someone like a Nero Bride could be very good for an additional.
But what if you don't have Nero Bride?
Buff, a strong attack buff, and a nice Sky Power mod if that does come up and it's something you're not very well equipped for. But then Buster, very specific. You absolutely need Koyenskaya. I know people in the comments, some veterans are going to go crazy, but to do Buster looping, you don't actually need Oberon. You do need him if you want to do 30% gauges, because like you saw on the run we just did.
So, no
he needs
2-star alternative?
If we want to use him. If it's a 50%, you can substitute Oberon with anybody that gives you a 50% gauge. For Buster farming, you will get to that end point where you have your battery refunded and you'll go ahead and use it.
Because let's say I use Koensky for the support.
To give Gilgamesh,
then what should I do?
Or Artoria, Morgan in this case, someone that has 50% NP charge, they can finish out the farm for them. Oberon is just the most optimal to use because he gives you the most damage and opens the doors for a lot of these 30% guys. But realistically, for Buster, you just need Koyenskaya and somebody else that can offer at least 50% battery. Again, you want to use 30% guys like Gilgamesh,
30%,
Iskandar when he gets his buff, or I think Arthur as well. You're gonna need Oberon to make.
I don't have any of those.
You do really still.
I do have Bargist.
Open the full doors of Buster to you, but again, also you can start subbing him in for your plug suit option in arts farming and for quick farming if the quick looper is good enough. But I hope you guys are able to find this entertaining. I was trying to stay more informative and not yap as much in this video, but I have been seeing quite a few comments of people saying, ZTL, can you do kind of a team building guide for some of us newer players, and I was like, you know what, I can definitely do that. If there's something that you're also wanting to get more in depth for more challenge quest oriented things, that is going to be something you'll see me do, especially 90 plus nodes on.
I don't really need to know that person, so I'm not going to be doing any of those. Let's see, I think... Okay, I'm trying to make sure that there's no other information that I need to know that's either been talked about earlier or hasn't been mentioned at all. Okay, so I think my main question, okay, my main concerns as a newer player are the following. One is that, do I need to use the 5-star no matter what? And if that's the case, then if I don't use them and maybe have just a support that is a 5-star support on whatever the recommended that he said, then who can I use to supplement for the third one who isn't a 5-star? Because like I said, I don't think most newer, like really newer, like maybe like first 3 months new kind of thing, those players, I don't think they would have enough servants unless they like whale every single banner. Which I don't think is possible. I do think the information he shared here was very valuable. There was a lot, and I think I do understand like what the important things are for each kind of team, and especially the fact that for meta, looping is the most important. But you know me, I'm not really much of a meta person, nor do I care to be, nor am I the type that likes to put everything perfectly. I just go with what I feel like. In most of my streams, even though I do ask you guys questions regarding certain situations. But that is also, that basically the supplementary lower star characters, like which should I use? If I use a specific support servant, like what would you recommend would be the best support servant for the specific Buster, Arts, or quick farming teams? And then the second would be the craft essences. Like what is a good alternative for Black Rail? Like I don't think most new people are going to have Black Rail. I don't think they're also going to have the ones that you have, or if I'm talking directly to the creator, but also to you guys who are watching this and who are veterans. Like you guys probably have a lot of craft essences, but I don't think that's really going to be the case for most like actually like super new players, or the ones that don't have so much time to like play every single part of the game. So I would like some recommendations for those alternatives for craft essences, or at least tell us like what to get from the shop if it is in the shop. And then the third one is whether it really is possible for someone to just use straight up lower star characters, like 4-star and lower, for the story to clear it. Because obviously this person is very experienced with the more tougher content, but even if we use like a 5-star support and maybe have 1 5-star DPS, that's clearly not going to clear every single thing in, for example, Lost Belt, since you guys have said so many times that Lost Belt is extremely hard. So if that's the case, like, is it actually possible to clear things with the lower stars without grailing every single lower star character? Because that's the other thing, is that it feels like even if I max them out, it's not enough. But then I don't want to grail them, like every single one. I just want to grail the one I like. It makes it very complicated. But I do appreciate this video. It was very informative. They did a really good job like laying it out and mentioning and explaining things that I did not know myself, especially with the skills and what the focus should be for the what was it, Arts, Quick, and Buster teams. I know in the beginning I was a little bit concerned because, one, I wasn't sure if this guide was actually for me, because I knew it would be useful, but I wasn't sure if I was like the target audience, essentially. Because I'm not exactly someone who plays it a lot. So it felt kind of odd for me to watch this when I thought it would be more general, but it was very specific instead. So it made me a little bit unsure in the beginning if it was the right kind of video for me to watch. But I'm still happy, and I still do think that I'm not exactly the target audience for this video, but I do think it was still very helpful in understanding certain details and even noticing things that I did not notice before, because I do not look at every single part of the UI and like go through everything. I just don't really have time for that when I'm streaming, because that's not the focus, and people are not really interested in me looking at every single part of the UI, even if some of you guys may want me to. But that is pretty much my overall like review, I guess, of the video. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it's meant for me in particular, but it was a very solid video, and I really like the fact that he didn't like overdo it with the editing, because too much editing honestly makes me tired to look at and actually focus on what is being said. So I appreciate that he didn't do that. Not to mention, like, he organized it in a very efficient way, which made it easier to grasp what he was talking about, which again, I appreciated as well. Now, again, thank you to both of you, obviously the creator for giving permission, but also to Mika and Or for requesting the video. And if you enjoyed this so far, then of course, be sure to hit the like and subscribe for the original and for this one. And click on the playlist right here on the screen if you want to see more videos like this. And I'll see you guys later. Bye!